All right, listen up closely because today we're tearing down one of the absolute most critical topics in your macroeconomics syllabus. Welcome to this high yield explainer. I need you to actively tune in right now because we're doing a rapid fire, highly structured review of the value added method of measuring national income. If you want top marks on your exams, you simply cannot afford to be fuzzy on this concept. We're going to break this down with absolute precision so that by the time we finish, you'll know exactly how to calculate the net product of an economy without making those amateur mistakes that cost most candidates their grades. Okay, let's dive right into this. First things first, the definition. You need to drill this exact, verbatim, textbook definition into your brains right now. The value-added method, which is also known as the net product method, measures national income as the sum total of net final output produced, or net value added, by all the producing units within the domestic territory during a year. Now, what's incredibly important about this definition is the specific terminology. You absolutely must include the phrases net final output and domestic territory in your exam answers if you want full marks. We're looking at the final value generated by everyone producing inside the country's borders over a 12-month period. Lock that into your memory right now. To master this, we're going to follow 4 strict systematic steps: sector classification, net value added, net domestic output, and finally, national income. All right, step 1, sector classification. So we start by grouping production units into 3 distinct sectors. The primary sector includes all units that produce commodities by exploiting natural resources. So think agriculture, forestry, fishing, mining, and quarrying. Then we have the secondary sector, which includes units that produce various products by transforming those raw materials into finished products. For example, manufacturing cloth from cotton or providing electricity, gas, and water supply. And finally, the tertiary sector. This sector provides non-tangible services, so less heavy machinery, more brainpower. This includes trade, transport, banking, insurance, government, and professional services. You must grasp this distinction for the exam: extracting resources, manufacturing tangible goods, and delivering non-tangible services. Moving right along to step 2, net value added. Pay extreme attention here, guys, because this is exactly where candidates bleed marks on the exam. The cardinal sin of macroeconomic accounting is double counting. We need to calculate the final value of goods and services produced by each enterprise, but we absolutely do not include the value of intermediate goods. You must subtract the value of intermediate products from the firm's total output. Why? Well, because if you count the flour the baker buys and then count the final loaf of bread sold to the consumer, you've literally counted the flour twice. Subtracting intermediate consumption is non-negotiable for finding the true net value added. So here is your mathematical engine for this entire process. You apply this exact formula systematically. You start with your base value, the value of gross output. From that, you absolutely must subtract your intermediate consumption. That gives you gross value added. But wait, we need net value added at factor cost. So next, you must subtract depreciation. And finally, you must subtract net indirect taxes. If you execute those 3 specific subtractions precisely, your final result is the net value added at factor cost. Every single enterprise in the economy must go through this exact mathematical filter. Okay, step 3, net domestic output. This brilliantly illustrates the true elegance of macroeconomics. Once you've got the net value added at factor cost for every single enterprise across those primary, secondary, and tertiary sectors, what do? You just sum them up. Estimating the sum total of net value added at factor cost of all the enterprises operating within the domestic territory of a country gives you the net domestic product at factor cost, otherwise known as NDP_FC. You're simply sweeping up all the individual enterprise data into one massive domestic total. And finally, step 4, national income. We've got our domestic product, sure, but we need our national income. Notice the stark difference in terminology here. Net domestic product at factor cost versus net national product at factor cost, which is the official term for national income. To bridge that gap from domestic to national, you must execute a transformative final step. You simply add net factor income from abroad to the NDP-FC. This accounts for the income our residents earn overseas minus the income foreign residents earn within our borders. Once you add that NFIA, you have finally unlocked the ultimate goal: national income. All right, let's see if you were actually paying attention. If you're sitting in your exam and you forget to subtract intermediate consumption in step 2, what catastrophic macroeconomic error have you just committed? You've committed the error of double counting, completely artificially inflating the value of the economy's output. Master these 4 precise steps: sector classification, net value added, net domestic output, and national income, and I promise you'll crush this exam. But it leaves you with a lingering thought, doesn't it? In our heavily globalized digital world, where services cross borders in literal milliseconds, how accurate can tracking every single intermediate cost truly be? Think about that the next time you hear a GDP figure thrown around on the news. That's it for this explainer. Keep studying hard, and I'll see you next time.